This presentation is going to cover a lot. It's meant to be high level and hopefully challenge some status quo out there, because I think especially in this type of environment where there's a lot of chaos, uncertainty, understanding data and how to interpret data is absolutely critical, whether you're a manufacturer, food service, or retailer. So again, for introductions, I'm Brian Choi, Managing Partner and CEO of the Food Institute. The Food Institute, in a nutshell, is the Bloomberg of food and beverage from a news, data, and trends perspective. So we have a lot of different types of content on a multimedia platform, from articles, podcasts, digital video webinars. We speak at a lot of different conferences in the US and globally. And I'll turn it over to Sunny here.
Yeah, I'm Sunny Khamkar, CEO, co-founder of MenuData. MenuData tracks ingredients, flavors, and menu items across food service into retail, but we also marry what is going on in terms of consumer trends and social media, as well as Google Trends. We provide our services to CPG manufacturers, food service operators, as well as distributors to provide a holistic view of what's going on in food and beverage.
Great. So what are the 4 macro trends in 2025? When I work with Sunny, these are the 4 macro trends for this year. Number 1, specialty and premium products is a growth area in specialty food, right? That might seem surprising, especially in this environment of inflation, but this is one of the categories that we're seeing both increased share, both dollar and volume sales in the food and beverage industry. Number 2, health and wellness. So we label it health and wellness 3.0. It's because the way consumers define health and wellness has evolved the past decade. It's not just physical, but there's also an emotional and psychological component that specialty food really fits that specific need state. Number 3.
Sensorial global flavor experiences. Consumers are really looking for new, innovative, global flavors to be incorporated in menu items and in retail. So it's something to think about in 2025.
And lastly, but not least, value consciousness. So we all know that consumers are stretched both in their wallets. We're going to show a very interesting graph of the comparison between food inflation and wage inflation. And basically that gap really has not filled. And so it's super critical, especially if you're a manufacturer, if you're a food service operator, and also a retailer, how you understand the consumer in this particular sort of economic state. So how will these 4 macro trends impact the CPG industry in 2025? So again, value consciousness, specialty, global flavors, health and wellness. Within CPG, this is a year of the challenger brand. If you're an emerging brand that is connected with your consumer, if you're focused on unique flavors, unique type of branding, this is the year that you can really make your mark. There's never been a time, I would say in the past 5 years, where there's a combination of lack of trust for big CPG, a lot of it due to some of the ingredients that have been, that they're using for their products. And as we've seen, especially with the acquisition, right? So we have Pepsi acquisition of Siete brands, $1.2 billion that was announced in October of last year. Recently, Simple Mills got acquired by Flowers Foods, $795 million. These are emerging brands that the consumers are really gravitating towards, right? And less away from big national brands. Number 2, there's also an increased focus on transparency in ingredients, right? Whether it's the Surgeon General's warning as it relates to alcohol products, this is going to be huge. If this actually goes on front of label with that cancer warning, the alcohol industry is in big trouble, right? So again, consumers are much more conscious of what they're putting into their bodies, and it's almost on hyperdrive, especially as we enter 2025. Number 3, wellness, right? Again, we're going to show some stats on how consumers are looking at their goals in 2025. Some of the numbers are quite shocking in terms of how they're thinking about changing their diet this year. And last but not least, and this was one of the points that was brought up in the innovation panel yesterday, there is an increased demand for authenticity. What do I mean? Authentic brands really know how to connect with their consumers. They know their demographic. They know who they're targeting. They're not trying to slap a bunch of labels, whether it's gluten-free, low sugar, brands really need to understand communication they're conveying to the market in this year. Number two, retail trends, right? So there is an increased push into private label. Right now, private label represents about 20% of food and beverage grocery sales. That number is going to grow 50% to 30% over the next 5 years. So whether it's the Trader Joe's, the Aldi's, the Lidl's of the world, even the Whole Foods, the Costco's, there is going to be an increased push into private label because consumers really, the perception of private label has completely changed. Number three, international retailers or retailers that are focused on certain demographics or regional foods. So just to name a few, H Mart, it's a Korean supermarket. More and more Americans are gravitating towards those international retailers. Patel Brothers is another one that's focused on the Indian market. Aurora Grocery, they're focused on the Hispanic market. We're going to see more of these retailers take share from the traditional retailers. And number four, retailers are understanding that consumers don't want to spend 45 minutes, an hour preparing food every day, right? So whatever retailers can do to cater to that consumer need of convenience, low prep, easy to cook, that's healthy, that's delicious, that will continue to be a trend in 2025.
Yeah, and when we think about food service, as I mentioned earlier, there's this rise in global flavors, and it's changing every single year. There's always new, unique, ingredients, spice, flavor profiles that are increasing in popularity. There's this increase in, thinking about value, right? So price points do matter, in 2025, and how consumers are really thinking about menu items and, how they want to go out to eat is everly, sort of evolving. There's an increased focus on limited time offers. So, menus are increasingly changing. Operators are able to experiment with new menu items using limited time offers to get people in the door. And then there's also this growth of international chains like Jollibee's, which we'll talk about later, that's kind of coming into the United States and providing sort of unique dining experiences.
All right, so let's delve into one of the macro trends, the specialty and premium category. So what do we mean by specialty and premium? These are products that are manufactured with premium ingredients. They offer some sort of elevated experience. One of the phrases that I really like, moments of luxury, right? So, this specialty food industry, as we're looking at some of the growth numbers, both from a sales and even from a market share perspective, the top graph, and apologies, the numbers are quite small. This is the number of dollar sales in specialty food over a 5-year period. In general, there's been about a 5 to 7% growth on a compound annual growth rate in specialty food. So whether it's on specialty food retailers, whether it's in food service, whether it's in private label, we are continuing to see growth. In this year, based on some of the numbers from the Specialty Food Association's State of the Industry, it's projected to grow about 5.5%. A very interesting graph on the bottom right, you'll see the market share as it relates to specialty food products. So this is over a 20-year period or 25-year period. Back in 2012, specialty food sales as a percentage of market share represented at about 14.3%. As we enter into next year and even 2026, that number is projected to be about 26%. So again, the trend that consumers are more and more gravitating towards specialty and premium, this will continue in the next couple of years. Now this chart, there's a lot of numbers here, so I'm going to explain it here. We recently partnered with our data partners at Circana, looking at different types of categories. So from super premium and looking at the top chart, premium, mainstream, value, and private label. So when we actually look at the past 12 months, what's really interesting is that the premium category continued to gain volume share, okay? What's interesting is that the value and mainstream category actually decreased a couple of basis points. And lastly, the private label, that bottom row on the top chart, that also continued to grow. So we're seeing a bifurcation of the market into premium and into private label. And we're seeing a decrease in consumption in that mainstream and value category, which is super interesting. Now, when we break it into income groups, so that's the two charts on the bottom. On the left-hand chart on the bottom left is low income. On the bottom right is higher income. And so not surprisingly, when you look at the lower income demographic, they're over-indexed on mainstream and value, right? Not surprising. But what's super interesting is that when you look at the higher income demographic, they are over-indexed on premium and especially super premium, right? So you're seeing growth in that super premium and premium category. The super premium actually increasing much more than the premium category, but you're also seeing a push into private label. This is what's driving the specialty food industry. So if I were to name what are the three drivers of specialty food, number one, it's fulfilling a psychological need with consumers. That's number one. And this is not just the higher income, but it's also that lower income. Number two, the higher income consumer they're not stressed, they're not financially stressed. They're continuing to buy, and actually at an increasing rate, they're increasing specialty food products. And number three, there is a real and even perceived perception that specialty food is better for you. So that's what's also driving sales in specialty food.
Yeah, and a great example of specialty food that's growing is kind of this evolution of pasta sauce, right? Consumers are demanding kind of cleaner label, plant-based, low sugar options. On the right is data from MenuData showing different types of pasta sauces. You see marinara, Alfredo, pesto, tomato, basil. But then you also see kind of this increase of like arrabbiata and spicier flavors. There's this focus on quick gourmet meals for consumers. So we're seeing kind of sauce is a brand that's bringing in kind of innovative ingredients from TikTok, like truffle, various spices. So it's this small batch artisanal brands that are really innovating in the pasta, sauce category.
We're seeing even retailers like Spartan Nash go heavy into premium private label. They have multiple different private label brands, but one they call Finest Reserve. This is specialty pizza. We're talking specialty chocolates, specialty coffee. And what they're telling us is that consumers are more and more gravitating towards these private brands, right? They even said that consumers not only say that it's as good as the national brands, but in some cases they're saying that it's even better than the national brands. So again, we're continuing to push into private label. Again, like this, we're going to be probably 20% market share to 30% over the next 5 to 7 years. This is a mega trend that will continue over the next 5 and maybe even 10 years.
Yeah. So in terms of elevated comfort, this is a trend that we're seeing where it's kind of luxury meets convenience. It's a premium spin on comfort food, right? So there's this increase of diners wanting this kind of comfort experience. 34% of orders through the NRA is around kind of comfort food. So you're seeing brands like Momofuku incorporating kind of this elevated ingredients, right? Like black truffle or ingredients like caviar, artisanal chocolate. And even on the food service side, Kodadak is taking fried chicken and kind of elevating it and bringing in Korean ingredients. So you're really seeing this trend show up in food service as well as retail.
Right. One interesting fact about Kodadak, they featured 6 chicken nuggets at the US Open, and they put a dollop of caviar, like a tiny dollop on each one. They were selling it for $100 at the US Open. And it went all over. So again, elevated comfort, that's probably on the extreme side, but we're seeing that type of innovation really resonate with consumers. Health and wellness, we talked about that. Functional foods, personalized nutrition. This is one of the most interesting surveys that I saw recently. This was published in December, mid-December of 2024, so very, very recent. Consumers were asked, these are adults, so they surveyed 1,085 adults, which is representative of the adult demographic in the US. What do you want to change in 2025? So I'm going to read it very quickly here. Eat healthier, not surprisingly, 73% of adults named that their top priority. They want to drink more water, right? 73%. They want to stay hydrated. Number 3, they want to exercise more. They want to get more sleep. They want to express more gratitude. I think that's a really good thing. They want to be more present, lose weight. As we go further down, one of the interesting trends that we're seeing is they want to drink less alcohol. 39% of adults surveyed say they want to drink less alcohol, which is shocking. So if you were to project that across the U.S., we're talking about 40 million people are saying that they want to reduce alcohol, right? They want to participate in Dry January, right? Again, so the whole alcohol movement, and we're going to talk about that more later in the presentation. This is one of the most exciting trends that I'm seeing here, along with Sunny in 2025.
Yeah, so when we look at Kava, right, it's a real success story. It's riding the wave of the Mediterranean diet. Kava's stock actually increased 300% in 2024, largely driven by health trends around sustainability. It really appeals to Gen Z. And it's this like premium Mediterranean experience. And it's also incorporating kind of pieces of the Blue Zone movement, right, which kind of focuses on longevity. And it really kind of plays into this broader based Mediterranean diet trend.
So what's really driving the success of Kava? So when Sunny and I were looking at what are the underlying growth factors that are driving Kava to its current success, when we looked at over a 20-year period, the interest level in Mediterranean food, so that's that lower line, that faded line on the bottom. So we were looking at it from January 2025 to 2005 to 2025. It was a slow, steady growth. Right around 2015, there was another growth phase and interest level in Mediterranean cuisine amongst Americans. This is when Kava acquired Zoe's Kitchen in 2018. When they made that acquisition, they were the clear market leader in fast casual Mediterranean cuisine, okay? That's when from then on, we saw an explosion of growth, basically from 2020 up until today. Kava, as Sunny mentioned, it's a $13.5 billion publicly traded company. They are the Chipotle of this generation, right? Again, it's a combination of health, it's a combination of global flavors, it's a combination of premium and elevated experience. It's a perfect example that really encompasses some of the growth factors that we're seeing in 2025. GLP-1, I won't spend too much time on GLP-1. But the one thing I'll say, it's becoming more and more mainstream. 12% of Americans have said that they have tried and regularly use GLP-1 drugs. One anecdote, I live in Upper Saddle River, New Jersey. I was just having a meal with a young couple, and they were, based on what I saw, they were perfectly well, healthy, they're fit. And they were telling me how they're using GLP-1 drugs, not because of any certain health condition, but they want to lose a couple of pounds. And they started to incorporate GLP-1 drugs as part of their diet. And again, this is the state of where we are today, right? We're almost biohacking. Consumers are looking for those easy solutions. GLP-1, it's not a fad. It's here to stay. And it has many implications on how consumers are eating, whether it's on the confectionery, whether it's on the fatty side of the food industry, or even sort of the alcohol industry as well. So again, huge. There's going to be more that we're going to talk about on this, but again, it is a major trend here. One other trend, sober curious. I mentioned 39% of American adults say that they want to reduce their consumption of alcohol. Right now, the US spends $260 billion on alcohol across beer, across wine, and across spirits. Now, if we take a look at the past, let's say 3 to 6 months, and you actually see transactions of alcohol sales, they're both in decline in both dollar sales and volume. This should be a huge indicator of what's going to happen over the next 3, 5, and maybe even 10 years. Right now, the non-alcoholic sector represents less than 1% of that. The Darling, the athletic brewing that you see on the picture on the right, they have sales of a little over $100 million in revenue in 2024, right? Let's say that the non-alcoholic movement across wines, across spirits and beer, they represent maybe 5%. We're talking a major category shifting event over the next 3 to 5 years. Now, if the Surgeon General actually gets his way and there's a label that alcohol causes cancer, we're going to see an even further shift. I did a study on when the label actually went on cigarettes back in 1964 when they actually put cancer warnings on the package. We saw a shift of smoking behavior go from 50% in the US down to about 15% today. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen in alcohol, but even if it's just 5% and 10%, we're talking major like market moving events in the beverage industry. One of the products, Seraphim Social Beverage, the company is a member of the Food Institute. They manufacture a premium red non-alcoholic wine. And again, this represents one of the categories that we're seeing double digit and in some cases triple digit growth in consumption. This is a category to watch in 2025.
Yeah, so we're also seeing kind of the rise of functional ingredients. Health benefits are driving demand. We're seeing growth in retail, functional snacks, drinks, ready-to-drink products, incorporating ingredients like adaptogens, probiotics, plant proteins, and more. And when we look at kind of what ingredients are showing up in which categories, on the left within plant-based proteins, you're kind of seeing like the rise of black beans and tofu. So kind of the consumers are looking for real ingredients as opposed to kind of something that's more manufactured. Within adaptogens, you're seeing kind of turmeric taking the lead along with goji berries, or even ashwagandha is showing up that we could also see trending and sort of increasing. Within the wellness bars and gels, you're seeing chia, flaxseed, hemp, spirulina, maca, and within functional beverages, we're seeing kind of matcha, electrolyte drinks. So a lot of the trends that have already been taking place in 2024 are set to increase in 2025 when it comes to functional ingredients.
So when we take a look at the global flavors, I think this chart is really representative of where global flavors and cuisine is going. The two charts represent, the one on the left is a demographic profile of the US back in 2016. The one on the right is what it's projected to be in 2060. So when we look at the demographic groups, non-Hispanic white, Hispanic, black, all others, and Asian, we're seeing a dramatic shift in the demographics here. Non-Hispanic white will go from 51% to 36% over the next 50 years. Hispanic population, right? 25% will go to 32% over the next 40 years. There is a reason why Pepsi acquired Siete for $1.2 billion. They are seeing the demographic shift, not only within the US, but non-Hispanics are also gravitating towards those flavors as well. When you look at the Asian demographic, it's going to go up from 5.2% to 8.1% over the next 40 years, right? So whether it's Japanese, whether it's Korean, whether it's Chinese, we're going to see more of those flavors come up on menus, showing up at retail, and also in food service.
Yeah, so when we look at kind of what cuisine types are seeing the most restaurant openings, when we were looking at the last 6 months, we saw kind of the largest cuisine types include American, Japanese, Italian, Mexican, and Chinese. But we're seeing an increase of new restaurant openings of Japanese, Korean, and French, which kind of goes more towards like umami-based flavors and a decline of like Mexican and Chinese. So this data is ever evolving, but it's always interesting to see where are new cuisine types really growing across the United States. And within kind of pickles, right? There's this pickle revolution in 2024 where pickles are showing up everywhere, whether it's new menu items, snacks, drinks. It really has this bold, pungent flavor profile that's attracting Gen Z, right? It's very convenient, easy to eat. On the right, we're showing kind of all different sorts of pickle products, and they're showing up increasingly on menus, whether it's like kimchi, pickled onions, sweet pickles. And it really kind of speaks to not only a different type of flavor profile, but also kind of a healthier option. So you're seeing kind of innovative CPG companies like Hot Girl Pickles use Gen Z to kind of bring virality and more kind of cleaner ingredients to pickles. So it's something to just kind of be aware of.
Yeah, and looking and just walking the show floor yesterday, there's probably the highest percentage of pickled manufacturers, whether it's pickled asparagus, pickled everything, right? There's probably like 10 different, exhibitors, where we see this concept continuing to evolve. Very quickly, again on global flavors, again, H Mart really focuses on the Asian, specifically the Korean type of products and ingredients. Patel Brothers focusing on the Indian category. We're seeing more of these retailers pop up. I'm seeing like an H Mart pop up every quarter in the Northeast. Again, Aurora Grocery really focused on the Hispanic demographic. So again, this is going to continue, right? The American palate is diversifying. They want new flavors. They want international flavors, it's something to continue to keep track on.
Yeah, so when you look at an international chain that's making headways in the United States, you think of Jollibee, right? They have 1,500 stores globally, 100 stores added in the United States, and it's this unique fusion of Filipino flavors and sort of comfort food, right? They have this spaghetti dish that incorporates like banana ketchup. So it's like really innovative and unique, and they're incorporating local flavors like ube to kind of bring that sweet and savory into sort of menu items. They also have this innovative marketing strategy that's kind of making headways on TikTok, and it's very, very affordable. So it kind of touches a lot of the trends that we're seeing, and it's really growing quite rapidly in the United States.
It's the second fastest growing quick service restaurant in the US, a Filipino chicken chain, right? So definitely want to keep track of. Lastly, the fourth macro trend I wanted to focus on, value consciousness. The consumer sentiment, right? This is the University of Michigan consumer sentiment. It says that consumers are, their sentiment is somewhat cautious. If you look at pre-pandemic, it was around the 100 level. Right now, it's around 80. So it gives you a sense of how consumers are thinking about the next 6 to 12 months, their own economic state, but also what they think of the U.S. economy. This is probably one of the most interesting slides in this presentation. This compares both food inflation and wage inflation over a 4-year period. And what we've seen is that food inflation has outpaced wage inflation by a considerable degree. When you actually combine the cumulative effect, you're seeing that consumers still remain depressed. And regardless of what we're seeing on the media saying inflation 2%, we're back down, consumers are still stretched. Their wage growth has not kept up. And so, especially if you're a manufacturer, if you're a food service operator, definitely keep this in mind. Like this, you have to understand where your target demographic is and what sort of financial wherewithal they have to spend money on product. In addition to that, this is another interesting survey done by Ipsos. What are the top 10 concerns of consumers? The top, not surprisingly, rising food prices. 36% say that this is a top concern that they're facing today. Number 2, utilities, economic downturn, global conflict. So understanding the psychological mind frame of consumers as they start 2025 is absolutely critical, right? Especially as you're developing your strategy for 2025.
Yeah, and great example of a success story in terms of a food service operator is Chili's. Chili's last year had an increase of 15% in kind of same store sales, and their growth drivers are really around redefining value for the consumer, right? At some point it was cheaper to eat at Chili's than to go to eat at McDonald's, basically. They had this $10.99 Big Smasher that was a hit, went very viral on social media, $6 margaritas, and they're kind of focused on value and bringing new customers, into their locations and having them come back. And we do see this trend continuing in 2025.
All right, so again, we just wanted to throw out 3 sort of like actionable insights. Again, this is not meant to be representative of every company, but just some very high level macro thoughts. As you start 2025, if you're a manufacturer, if you're a retailer, if you're a food service, you have to understand your product market fit. Again, this is textbook, MBA, understand your consumer, because the more you understand your consumer, the more you could tailor your product. Do you want to position your product as value, right? Do you want to position your product as premium, maybe even super premium, right? Understand who your target customer is and really capitalize on it and connect with them that way.
And always think about incorporating new, innovative global flavors. As we're seeing kind of growth of Southeast Asian flavors, Mediterranean, umami-rich flavors. So it's kind of top of mind to sort of think of global flavors.
And last but not least, health and wellness continues to be a major theme. So think about, as consumers are looking to want to eat healthier, they want to drink more water, not alcohol. They want to try new types of functional ingredients. These are all opportunities that one can introduce, right? So whether you're an operator, whether you're a manufacturer. A full report will be published, so this will be finished by the end of this month. So we're working with SFA to push this out. It will go into a lot more detail, and it will basically follow the outline of this presentation. Definitely, if you have any questions, contact me at the Food Institute, brian.choi@foodinstitute.com. The QR code, you can sign up to become a member to receive all of our insights.
You can always send an email to us if you're interested in our real-time insights platform, sunny@menudata.ai, QR code below.
All right, so we're going to open it up. We have about 10 minutes for questions. So feel free to ask us any questions. We have 4 focus group sessions at starting at 12:30 on the other side of the hall. So definitely come share with us your thoughts. We'd love to work with you. And so any questions? Yes.
Hello, hi, I'm Mary Beth. I work in insights mostly with CPG and QSR. The question that I have for you is I'd like to know how you typically work with food service manufacturers and developers and operators to interpret and develop insights specifically for R&D and new product.
Great question.
Yeah, so we'd like to take a holistic approach, bringing in data not only from menus, but incorporating e-retail data sets. It could be Google Trends, what's happening on TikTok and Instagram, and really work with clients to develop like custom dashboards, incorporate artificial intelligence to showcase where we think the puck is going in terms of flavors, ingredients, menu items, and create projections. Brian, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and we work with companies in a number of different ways. So it really depends on whether it's an insights team, whether it's an R&D team, in food service or a manufacturer. So depending on the needs, like we basically customize a dashboard that fits the needs and how they use data. And then we have regular follow-ups and discussions with them. So it's not just like a data dump. It's working with their team to understand and interpret data and figuring out, okay, what are some options that they can do from a menu development, from a product development perspective. Great question. Yes.
Hi, my name is Joseph. I'm the founder of Joey Secrets. We make these gluten-free super premium crackers, like high in protein and fiber. I have 2 questions. So the first one is, where do you see, based on the data that you have, where do you see the better for you snacking going? Like what's trending this year?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So the better for you snacking is actually, it continues to see a lot of growth, right? So we just saw Simple Mills just got acquired for $795 million by Flowers Foods. They were probably, from a revenue perspective, like anywhere from 200 to about 225 million. So we're talking about like 3.5 times revenue, ballpark, which is so. Just looking at the transactions and where big food is strategically investing, it's a great sign, right? So Simple Mills, what they are, they're a cleaner, they're an ingredient company for baking. They have these great crackers, gluten-free. So they're their growth rate has just been double digits. Especially when you look at the 2019 to 2023, 2024, they were continuing to see velocity at retail. So especially for what you're doing, it seems like your product positioning is what, like the premium or
More
super premium?
premium.
Okay. So again, looking at some of the macro trends that we're seeing in 2025, super premium it has outsized growth, right, for over the past 12 months. So your product positioning is absolutely perfect, right? You're better for you, higher quality ingredients. What do you retail? Like, what is your product retail?
Or we can be between $10.99 to $11.99.
So again, like super high price, super premium. But again, is your audience or your customers on the West Coast? Like, what's their demographic?
We're starting in the West Coast right now.
Okay, so yeah, higher income consumers that are hyper focused on health. They're willing to pay almost double, basically, for a super premium cracker that fits their lifestyle, right? So, I would say that on retail. I don't know if you have any thoughts on food service.
Yeah, on food service, I could see those crackers being incorporated into like charcuterie boards, which are trending, high-end restaurants, and sort of incorporating unique flavors, right? You could incorporate truffle, and sort of think about new innovative menu items, especially in snacking. That's going to set to kind of increase in terms of menu items. And yeah, I think it could be really, really great opportunity.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Hi there.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Chef V here of the Flavorsmith. We craft exceptional flavors with nuance and care using nature's finest ingredients. All the products that we make, it's all sourced and made in America, but it has global influence, global flavors. Do you see, what would your insight be if the product is made in America versus imported from different countries?
Well, definitely, especially with the tariff, the tariff news, you definitely want to, like, from a financial perspective and supply chain, definitely focus on the U.S. in the near term. I think there is consumer demand for global, but I think if you have a great product, authentic tasting product, and it's really targeted and positioned well, and you manufacture it here, I think that's really the best case scenario, right? I think you can recreate, if you're able to recreate that authentic international ethnic type of experience here in America, that's what's trending right now. And from a cost perspective, from a manufacturing and logistics perspective, that's also beneficial to the bottom line as well.
Basically, you're telling me keep doing what I'm doing.
Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, my question is, how much do you think the regulatory aspect is going to have an impact on the trends that you guys showed today? Because today we're starting a new government, and it looks like the lobbying for better ingredients or ingredients that are going to be banned is going to be more in effect. So I would like to know, how do you think that's going to impact? Because obviously these ingredients have been used to keep costs low.
Yeah.
But now that they're going to be banned or somewhat regulated, what's the challenge in there?
Yeah, so it will have a major impact if the tariffs remain in place. I think there's a chance, based on the session yesterday, that Trump is basically doing some saber rattling and trying to get some concessions in some other areas. Based on that the panelists said, like, that's the most likely scenario, right? So, but in the off chance that there's a across the board ban on specialty ingredients and products, yeah, it's going to have a major impact on the specialty food industry, especially those that focus on imports and consumers. That's what they want, right? Like, you can't create like a Parma Reggiano here in the U.S. You can't, right? And so there's going to be that's a gap. That's a gap that really can't be fulfilled, because of the nature of how things are manufactured there. But yeah, it will have a major impact. I don't think it'll be long term. And so my expectation is, I think, just be very flexible, right? Be flexible, and try to get some, if you're able to recreate a certain product here in domestically, find avenues, to do so. I think the name of the game right now is being flexible, both financially and operationally. Great question. All right. Any other questions? We have about 2 minutes left. We have some business cards if you want to get some contact information, and definitely sign up to become a member of the Food Institute. Sign up for if you want a demo of the MenuData platform. We're happy to show that to you. And we'll be working with SFA to provide more regular insights throughout the year, right? And it's not just a one and done once a year. Our platform is real time. So happy to be a resource to you all. It's great to be a part of the specialty food industry. Thank you for coming, and appreciate your time. Thank you.